Good morning, Black America. Grand Rising, beloved. I'm Crypto Stock Markets, and I'm here to turn digital sense into generational sense. Let me show you something before you start your week, because most people are not watching this close enough, but it matters. Over the weekend, gold dropped about 10%. Silver dropped with it. Stock markets across Asia, Europe, and the U.S. all took hits. At the same time, oil started moving because of the U.S.-Israel tension with Iran, and the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell himself, came out and said higher energy prices could push inflation back up. So you got pressure building from multiple directions. Now here's the part I want you to pay attention to. Bitcoin didn't drop the same way everything else did. It didn't break down with stocks. It didn't break down like gold either. It just held. Now, if you're new to this, that may not sound important, but it is, because normally when markets get shaky, money runs to gold. That's been a pattern for a long time, but this time, gold got hit and Bitcoin stayed steady. So now you got to ask yourself, why? Because something is changing in how money is behaving. Not fully changed, but changing. Let me say this real clear. Just because Bitcoin is holding does not mean we're in a bull run. We are still in a bear market. The cycle hasn't flipped just because price moved a little. So don't come into this week thinking you late. This is still a positioning phase. So now let's bring you up to this morning, because over the weekend, markets were under pressure. But early this morning, Bitcoin pushed back above 70K, and the reason is tied directly to headlines. Donald Trump came out saying talks with Iran were productive. So just like that, tension cools a little and markets respond. Now catch what just happened. Over the weekend, fear. This morning, we got some relief. Same system, different deadline. This should tell you something. Now, let's ground this even more. U.S. national debt just hit $39 trillion. At the same time, you got war tension affecting oil prices, and the Fed warning inflation could rise again. So yeah, markets are moving, but they're moving under pressure. And when pressure builds, you start seeing things move a little different than usual. Now watch this part closely. Because while all that is happening, you had some very specific things happen last week that most people didn't hear about. NASDAQ just got approval from the SEC to allow tokenized stocks and securities. That means traditional assets are starting to move towards blockchain infrastructure. At the same time, you had U.S. senators working directly with the White House to resolve the stablecoin yield issues with banks, meaning they're trying to figure it out how crypto and banks operate together. Then both the SEC and the CFTC came out together and said most crypto assets are not securities. That matters because for years that's been one of the biggest questions hanging over this market. Now you're starting to get clear answers. Then PayPal stepped in and expanded stablecoin access to over 70 countries. So now you got a company with hundreds of millions of users bringing digital dollars to a global audience. And on top of that, SEC Chair Paul Atkins is talking about removing outdated rules to help modernize financial markets. And CFTC Chair Mike Selick is saying markets are moving on chain and crypto is part of the future of finance. And this is why you can't just look at price by itself, because you just saw Bitcoin move back up based on geopolitical headlines, not fundamentals. That's important because it shows you how sensitive markets are right now to news, not structure. Let me put it to you like this. While everybody focuses on price, NASDAQ is preparing for tokenized stocks. PayPal is expanding digital dollars globally, and regulators are finally giving clarity. So the question isn't just where is price going? The question is, what kind of system is being built right now? Now, here's how you stay grounded in all of this. You still have analysts saying Bitcoin could drop hard because it's still tied to stocks. That's real. But at the same time, you saw Bitcoin move like everything else last week. That's real too. So what does that mean? It just means we're in a transition phase. That's all that means. So this week, watch Bitcoin compared to the stock market. Watch oil prices. That's your inflation signal. Watch stable coins expansion. That's global liquidity. And pay attention to regulation headlines, because those are going to tell you where this is heading next. The system always leaves clues, family. And right now, you're starting to see them. But don't get ahead of yourself. We are still in a bear market. This is not the time to chase. This is the time to understand what you're looking at. Take care, loved ones. I'm Crypto Stock Markets, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow.